Whew, y'all, I just got done with a march led by Tsuru for Solidarity, the Portland JACL, with performances by Portland Taiko down in my hometown, and that was intense. So this was in honor of Day of Remembrance, which if you watched a post I made a couple of videos ago, this is to commemorate the Executive Order 9066, which was the order that forced relocation for all of the Japanese families along the West Coast. My grandparents and great-grandparents were scooped up in that order and forced to take only what they could carry and move into concentration camps along the West Coast border during World War II. So we gathered together today to commemorate that event, to listen to some great taiko music, and to march on the Frosty building downtown in Portland. And I expected to get a little emotional because it's my grandparents, it's my family, and there's a lot bit of generational trauma to be worked through there. But in social activism land, it is really important, I think, for those of us who feel brave enough and ready enough to stand in the fire of our generational trauma, to stand in solidarity with others who may be going through something similar or worse. So we came together to not just commemorate that event, that terrible event that shouldn't have happened, but to stand in solidarity with immigrants and Black and brown folks who are experiencing violence at the hands of the government right now. And it was intense. It was intense. It was largely intense because there was some asshat who was there with a megaphone pointing his camera at everybody, kids included. Ugh, I hate that. Pointing his camera at everybody and just rage baiting. He had a megaphone. He was blasting American anthems, music, and shouting out to fund Frosty and to how much we are domestic terrorists, and just a reminder of why we do this work in the first place. Why do we come together as a people to fight racism and white supremacy and all of this nasty, nasty stuff? And I kept telling myself, I can't get arrested. I can't get arrested. I have a job. My health insurance relies on it. I'm in charge of children. Like, I need to mind my P's and Q's. I did flip him off for a very long time, and then was asked by the organizers not to do that because it was agitating. I mean, I was agitating by exercising my right of free kinesthetic speech. But that said, I live in Portland, so the police are, be policing. Yeah, so they weren't doing anything. So it was hard to hear the speakers. The speakers were a survivor of the camps, a sansei, which is my mother's generation, but some of the sansei were little kids in the camps. My grandparents were Nisei and Issei, first and second generation immigrant generation, and first generation born in the United States, birthright citizens. And she was Sansei generation, I believe, and she was interned. And they asked how many people were survivors. A handful of people. That was 80 years ago, so not a lot of survivors left, but how many were descendants of folks who were locked up in those camps? And there was a lot of us. I met some really great people today. I got to march with some really wonderful friends. Shout out to one of my new little friends who's writing a whole science fiction series that I can't wait to read more of, a fourth grader. Very cool kid. So yeah, it was a great event. It was hard. I cried some. I puffed up some. I was like, I wish a motherfucker would, because I got a lot of generational trauma to work through. But I stayed on my best behavior. I minded my P's and Q's. I found community with other people, and I encourage you to do the same. If you want to know how to support, how to help, how to fight for a good cause, look up where Frosty detention camps are being bought, sold, built in your neck of the woods. Figure out a way to interrupt that cycle. Write to your Congress people, all the things. Do all the things. I'm happy to DM with anybody who wants to know more of the things that you can do. So, all right, everyone, stay safe out there.